Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, HaKakodesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are the true leaders of Israel today. And salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who risk their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai. And the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as we're the ones who are suffering under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalio, and this video is about the times that are approaching. Great judgment from Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. Alright, and we are in fact in those days, man, the end of the rulership of the biblical Edomites, who are the wicked, who are these so-called white people. We're at the end of their vile, wicked kingdom, and at the end of their vile, wicked kingdom, the Lord is going to be sending great judgment. All right, and the judgment is coming in the form of these things here. 2 Ezra 15 and verse 5. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So the Lord is bringing these judgments, man. All right, and the Lord let the world know why. All right, the world is exceedingly wicked, and that's because the people who are in rulership are the wicked, and they establish a wicked dominion. All right, and now the cup is overflowing, and our people, man, have taken on to these ways. All right, and love these ways, and love to commit abominable acts, and love to worship false gods and false idols. All right, and the Lord has told them, has warned them, all right, to stop doing these things and to repent. And the Lord has warned them and told them that if you do not repent of these things, then you will be judged for them. And these are the judgments at hand. All right, now with Esau's kingdom at its end, all right, the Lord is bringing in the famine, the pestilences, the spirits created for vengeance, and everything. And now we're in the midst of Esau's NWO, which is all about them bringing in that microchip, which is a mark of the beast. And with that, they are bringing in intentional chaos to the world. All right, Esau is the Lord's sword, and the Lord is using his sword to bring about these judgments. So the Lord is using Esau to bring about the famine. The Lord has granted Esau spiritual power on the left-handed side to have all kinds of weapon technologies that can do all sorts of things, all right, to bring about these judgments. All right, so with Esau's plan at hand, you know, the federal government just warned shortages are coming, which this is all by design. This is all orchestrated by the wicked elite of Esau, Edom, who are the elite bankers. All right, this is the ruling class of the people who are in rulership, the Edomites. Every nation that is in rulership has a ruling class, and their ruling class are the elite bankers. All right, and in Revelation chapter 6 and verse 8 it says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, which is talking about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. Right, death and hell can mean the ground, but also it is a condition of being in, which is an unfavorable condition, right? A condition that is not good. All right, so he's bringing death and hell, okay, followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, which is a miracle, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So you see, so it's as it says, power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, all right, and with death. So, you know, Esau is going to be bringing these things about, and the famine is all by design. Now, we know due to the ramifications of the war that they've spoken about the fertilizer very, you know, it's a prominent topic, and they're saying that there are going to be food shortages coming in. All right, that is guaranteed. All right, and of course, you know, firstly, it is coming because of the prophecies, but now we're in that time, the times that, you know, we've been prophesying about, that the Lord has been, you know, through the mouth of his prophets, warning the world of these times that would be coming, and now these times are here. All right, which is all praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. All right, we have finally arrived, which means that the kingdom is close. Yahushai is close to returning. Our deliverance is close. Everything, man. All right, the glory of Israel, all right, is coming. So we just have a little bit more time left. And as the scriptures say, through great tribulation shall you enter the kingdom. So, we in the time of Jacob's trouble now, and we understand fully what kind of time this is. All right. So
this is big breaking news. The USDA has just warned that the United States agricultural production is going to be drastically lower. Levels we haven't seen in over 50 years, we are going to see now in the U.S. for crop production this year. This is due to multiple factors, due to fertilizer, due to drought, water issues, all these things right now. So let's get into all the details here. You guys can see this was a memo that was just released today by USDA. It says World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates, and it's saying here it just came out today, May 12th, 2026, approved by the World Agricultural Outlook Board. All right, so they are warning that there is going to be reduced harvest this year. All right, you can see here it says USA projects smallest U.S. wheat harvest since 1972 due to plains drought. USDA forecasts historic wheat lows and record soybean gains amid drought, trade tensions, and rising input costs for the 2026-27 season. All right, so we're gonna have
the drought that has been happening, and then those suspicious wildfires that have been happening in America, all right, in various different parts, including, I believe it was Nebraska, which is they call it one of the bread baskets of America, where all of the crops and all of that was destroyed by those wildfires. So Esau is bringing in this famine, man, and it's coming in from all kinds of different angles, from the fertilizer issue to this drought issue. And we're not ignorant to Satan's devices. Esau has certain technology that the Lord has given him, right? He's in his blessing, and the Lord has given him spiritual power on the left-handed side, which is that technology. So he has technology to cause certain kinds of things, all kinds of weapon technology, man. All right, but regardless, it is the Lord that is bringing these judgments to ahead. All right, so you can see here, I'm not going to play much more of this. We got the point of it. All right, big trouble is coming. The federal government has warned of shortages coming, right? So of course, how convenient is it that the fertilizer issue occurred exactly at the time when it is that all of the farmers need the fertilizer? It was at the peak of the season for them to use it. They couldn't get it, so now the issue is coming in. All right, and let's not forget as well that they have said that these issues that have occurred, that are coming, are issues that are sure to come, because even if the war were to stop right now, the issues that have already occurred are set to happen, right? You can't rewind it. So the problems of recovery or whatever, it's coming. All right, that's what they're saying. All right, so it is what it is, and this is the famine that's coming in. This is Luke 21 and verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, and distress of nations, with perplexity the sea and the waves roaring, right? So there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon, and we've seen these signs, right? Signs to let us know that we're at the end of Esau's rulership. All right, we look at the signs that the Lord told us to look at. We measure the time diligently. We look at current events and we measure it by Bible prophecy, and that's why we know very clearly, and we can say very boldly and confidently, that we are at the end of Esau's kingdom. That is very clear. All right, so let's look at this word perplexity at G640, which is the Greek word aporia, which says a state of one who is in perplexity. Let's go to the origin at 639, which is the Greek word aporio, which says to be without resources, right? And now we know what resources are. Our resources are anything that, food, water, toiletries, just resources, things that aid you in your daily life, right? To be in straits. And this is what is coming upon the people, right? To be in that perplexity, to be without resources, no food, no water, no what are considered essential goods, just everything just being reduced. All right, people's lives just, people's state of living is just going to be reduced to nothing, really, right? To be in straits, to be left wanting, to be embarrassed, to be in doubt, right? So this thing, to be without resources, this is what this situation is, man. And so this is the famine coming in and all of the other things that are happening, because the famine is coming in, food shortages, the water shortages, but it's going to also just be a shortage of things, the price increases, the lack of goods, it's just going to be pure chaos, right? You have people that rely on certain things, for example, like women, they have a monthly situation that they deal with. If they kind of get those kinds of products, they're in big trouble, big trouble. All right, big trouble, especially that stench. You know what I'm saying? And then just the whole list of other things that people need to get through. And this is where it's all heading towards, man. Great tribulation. All right, and the only way to get through this is by ways of the mercies of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. All right, here's a video.
Do you want to know what happens with my followers?
From Dabu.
What's up, guys? Dab.
To empty shelves. US will run out of usable oil by July 4th. Yeah, they've been saying that I think it was yesterday or the day before that California is 6 weeks out before they don't have any more gas, right? And that's not just California, that's in various other places around the world that will be suffering these things. Okay, so the times are about to get really critical, because we know what is going to be happening, based on these times, and what kind of behavior is going to be upon the people due to the situation at hand. 2 Ezra 15 and verse 18. For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So the times are going to become extremely chaotic. People are going to be going buck wild. All right, every man for himself, survival of the fittest, right? People are going to lose everything, and there's going to be a certain lawlessness, because up here it says 2 Ezra 15 and verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. So it's going to become really wild in various places around the world, where people are not going to listen to the authorities or whoever is in charge. So people are going to be just doing whatever they want to do, right? Being lawless, attacking one another for resources, right? Because there will be a lack of it. This is what is coming, okay? And those of our people that are going to be caught up in these things are going to be those of the non-elect of the nation of Israel, all right, who are going to be destroyed and judged, and all of these things, with people, the Lord putting the Spirit upon people to do whatever, right? And it's going to be really brutal out there, man. All right, you can think of worst case scenarios for these kinds of situations. All right, and remember, the famine is going to be so sore that it's going to lead to cannibalism as well. So people are going to be attacking one another to consume one another. This is how brutal it's going to be, man. All right, so you have some Israelites out there, so you have our people out there that some of them are going to be eaten, right, by due to the situation. It's going to be really, really bad. 8 weeks to empty shelves. US will run out of usable oil by July 4th, right? So we're heading into this very terrible time. It's going to be ramping up into the summer, and then going into the fall and the winter. So can you imagine if this thing, which I do believe that it will continue, right? That this is the time, so it will continue and it will continue to build up. So imagine where it will be by the time we enter into those winter months. Oh yeah. So let's listen to Dabo a bit.
What's up, guys? Dabu7. Got us a nice black snake here. Good to have them running around, keeping down any rodents and any other poisonous snakes. So hope all is good. Gotta watch out for those snakes out there. There's plenty of them, right? But some are good. Good to have around. We've got a lot going on out here. And in terms of seeing the setup in front of us, that's disastrous. That's exactly what we've got going on here in terms of what I see. And I'm talking all kinds of different angles. The water situation, this is all manufactured. Like water wars, right? But the drought is engineered to make this whole situation way worse than what it needs to be. Our government's not making any moves to try to use technology for good at all. They're not putting up desalination plants, shipping in water, or doing anything like that. What's happening here is this whole thing with Hormuz seems to be engineered to reset the globe. And what's about to happen is things are just about to disappear. Okay? In terms of the oil, I have an article I'm going to leave below, and it goes over all the numbers and all the data. Okay? And it shows clearly that the last ship that filled up with oil that came out of Hormuz has already came to the port of Long Beach and dropped that off on May 3rd. It's gone. It's out of here. You can expect there's nothing coming behind it. They're saying that we are projected to run out of usable oil by the 4th of July of this year if we don't get this together, get it opened up, and get things moving. So what's going to happen is you're not going to see, per se, $6, $7, $8 gas in some places. You're just not going to see it. Maybe gas is there, though. It only takes knocking out one thing, and that's diesel. When the diesel goes, it's over. It's game over. Nothing moves. Tractors don't move. Truckers don't move. We're heading in that direction. Very quick.
Yeah, Esau's kingdom is finished. All right. So this is 2 Ezra 6 and verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And those sown places are the fields and the crops, right? And that fertilizer issue, y'all know what it is. All right, so they're going to appear unsown. There's not going to be the crop yield, at least not what the world is accustomed to producing to feed the world, right? The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, right? So the food places, grocery stores, are going to be found empty, man. They're going to just be no food. And remember this as well regarding the crops and the livestock. In ancient Egypt, the Lord sent plagues, right? The plagues onto Egypt. And the Lord sent plague that destroyed the crops. And the Lord sent the plague that destroyed the livestock. So the pestilences, okay, can be used as well to bring about the famine. Can be brought in from so many different angles. And remember, the Lord is bringing pestilences, right? And I wouldn't be surprised to see that the Lord brings in the pestilences to ravage these things, right? As the Lord once did before in ancient Egypt, right? America being modern day Egypt, that place that is spiritually Egypt and Sodom, right? And there's no new thing under the sun, man. Okay, and we do know of a pestilence that is apparently destroying the livestock, which is that bird flu, which has affected the chicken. And when you look at the history of it, man, over these past few years, hundreds of thousands of chicken have been destroyed due to the bird flu, right? That they said that they've had to call the population, that that the birds are infected, they have to slaughter them, all these kinds of things, man. And they say that it also affects the cows, which have been facing that same fate. So there is something there, right? But these are just the times we're in, man. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear, they shall be suddenly afraid, because the announcement is going to be made. And when the announcement is officially made of the famine, people are going to be, it's going to be a next level. Because I mean, already they're gonna panic once the announcements of the food shortages and the rationing is happening, right? They're gonna hold on to some, but some they still have like a glimmer of hope, because they being in this world, right? They're going to expect that things are going to become better, but it's just going to get worse and lead into famine. So their psyche is about to just be broken completely. Okay, are people who refuse to repent, all right, who the spirit is not dwelling with, all right. So that's just what it is. The time is clear. With that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kodesh. Shalom.